So good evening students. Today we will see a short review on adrenal cortical hormones. So in adrenal gland, it's a gland located, two glands each weighing 4 grams located on the superior pole of the kidney. The superior pole of the kidney, two glands. Okay? And this gland is made up of two parts. One is adrenal medulla, other one is adrenal cortex. So adrenal medulla secretes catecholamines. Okay, catecholamines. They are norepinephrine, epinephrine and dopamine. The adrenal cortex, it is made up of 3 layers: zona, glomerulosa, fasciculata and reticularis. So this is the histology of adrenal cortex, which shows 3 layers. The outermost thin layer is zona glomerulosa, which constitutes 15%. The middle widest layer is zona fasciculata, which constitutes about 75%. And remaining 10% is zona reticularis. Zona glomerulosa secretes mineralocorticoids, fasciculata secretes glucocorticoids, reticularis secretes androgens or sex steroids. So the principal mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. The principal glucocorticoid is cortisol, and in reticularis androgens. So mineralocorticoids. Okay, so these steroids, they maintain the level of the minerals sodium and potassium in our body. So they are called mineralocorticoids. Example, aldosterone. Glucocorticoids, they have important role in glucose metabolism, and example is cortisol. And androgens, we have testosterone, which is responsible for the secondary sexual characters in male. And from the androgens, we have estrogen also. From the testosterone, we are getting the estrogen also, and it is the source of female hormone estrogen in males. So in males, there is some amount of estrogen will be secreted from the adrenal cortex, zona reticularis. Steps in the synthesis of the adrenal cortical hormones. The important raw material is the cholesterol. So from the cholesterol, these adrenal cortical hormones are derived. So cholesterol is acted upon by the enzyme cholesterol desmolase, forms pregnenolone. Okay, so the pregnenolone, by the action of the enzyme 3-beta hydroxy steroid dehydrogenase, it is converted into progesterone. The progesterone is converted into 11-deoxycorticosterone by 21-beta hydroxylase, and this 11-deoxycorticosterone is converted into corticosterone by 11-beta hydroxylase. And the pregnenolone is converted into 17-hydroxypregnenolone by 17-alpha hydroxylase. And the 17-hydroxypregnenolone is converted into DHA, that is dehydroepiandrosterone. It's a weak androgen by the enzyme 17-20 lyase. And here the progesterone is also hydroxylated by 17-alpha hydroxylase into 17-hydroxyprogesterone. And this enzyme, this reaction is catalyzed by 17-alpha hydroxylase. And the pregnenolone is also converted to progesterone by the 3-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. And the 11-deoxycortisol, from the progesterone we got the 11-deoxycortisol by the action of 21-beta hydroxylase. And this 11-deoxycortisol is converted to cortisol by the action of 11-beta hydroxylase. Okay, so this enzyme catalyzes 2 reactions, this enzyme catalyzes 2 reactions, and this enzyme catalyzes 3 reactions: pregnenolone to progesterone, hydroxypregnenolone to hydroxyprogesterone, dehydroepiandrosterone into androsterone. Also there is conversion taking place between the pregnenolone to hydroxypregnenolone, progesterone to hydroxyprogesterone. So these are the steps involved in the synthesis of adrenal cortical hormones in fasciculata and reticularis. In zona glomerulosa, the substance, that is the hormone aldosterone, is synthesized with some difference. Okay, so this aldosterone is synthesized only in glomerulosa because of the presence of an enzyme called aldosterone synthase. So in zona glomerulosa, the same reaction. From cholesterol we got pregnenolone. From pregnenolone we will get progesterone by the enzyme 3-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. From progesterone it is 11-deoxycorticosterone by 21-beta hydroxylase. And from 11-deoxycorticosterone, and from corticosterone to aldosterone, these 2 reactions are catalyzed by the enzyme aldosterone synthase. Okay, so there is no 11-beta hydroxylase in glomerulosa. So this is the step involved in the synthesis of aldosterone, which is taking exclusively the zona glomerulosa. So why aldosterone synthesis occurs only in glomerulosa? Because of the presence of the enzyme aldosterone synthase. So the function of glucocorticoids, it plays, as the name implies, it plays important role in glucose metabolism. It stimulates gluconeogenesis. So synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate source, and it decreases the peripheral utilization of glucose. So both this reaction will increases the blood glucose level. Second, in fat metabolism, it mobilizes fat from the adipose tissue and increases the fatty acid level, and these fatty acids go for beta oxidation, and it is converted into energy. Okay, and protein metabolism, in protein, it causes protein catabolism, especially in the muscles. And these amino acids, which is derived from the catabolism, enters the liver and helps in the synthesis of glucose, that is gluconeogenesis. Also these amino acids helps in the formation of liver proteins and formation of plasma proteins. So the protein is removed from the protein stores in all the cells. It is moved to the liver. So in the liver, the protein formation is enhanced. And anti-inflammatory action. So anti-inflammatory action is another important function where this cortisol stabilizes the lysosomes. So lysosomes, these are the cell organelles that releases proteolytic enzyme that mediate the inflammation. So it stabilizes the lysosome membranes and it inhibits the synthesis of prostaglandins. And in the blood cells, cortisol increases the red blood cell, neutrophil and platelets. And all the other cells, the count is decreased. It decreases the lymphocyte, it decreases the eosinophil, and it decreases the basophil. So except for RBC, neutrophil and platelet, all the cell counts will be decreased by glucocorticoids. And we have a permissive action of glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids are essential or to be present for the action of catecholamines. So for the catecholamines to exert the vasopressor action or vasopressing action, glucocorticoids presence is important. So this action we call it as permissive action of glucocorticoids. So not only for catecholamines, also for glucagon. So for glucagon to exert its calorigenic effects, glucocorticoids are needed. The presence is needed. So mineralocorticoids, as the name implies, it maintains the level of the minerals sodium and potassium. So the principal mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. So aldosterone acts on the aldosterone receptor presented in the cytoplasm of the cell. It causes a cell membrane, and especially this acts on the renal tubules, tubular epithelial cells in the collecting ducts. So in the collecting ducts, this aldosterone receptor combination will stimulate the formation of mRNA and leads to the formation of membrane transport proteins. So what happens in the renal tubular epithelial cells? This is the blood, and this is the tubular epithelium, and this is the tubular lumen, which contains the tubular fluid. And this aldosterone with the receptor causes mRNA formation, and it forms the membrane transport proteins like epithelial sodium channel, which causes the movement of sodium, which enhances absorption of sodium. So this drive of sodium is done because of low sodium created by the sodium potassium pump, which is activated by the aldosterone. So aldosterone will also activate this pump, sodium potassium pump. This pump pumps 3 sodium out and 2 potassium in. And now because of low sodium, sodium is derived by the epithelial sodium channels, and the potassium which is entering inside, it is secreted into the lumen by the potassium channels, big potassium channels or BK channels. So there is potassium secretion and sodium reabsorption taking place under the influence of aldosterone. So aldosterone, when the level is excess, it causes hypernatremia, increase in sodium in the blood, and hypokalemia, that is low potassium because of potassium secretion. Also aldosterone stimulates the H+ ion secretion. So in the intercalated cells, of the nephron, we have a pump called H+ ATPase pump, which secretes H+ ion, and this pump is stimulated by aldosterone. So aldosterone will stimulate this pump, and H+ ion secretion takes place. So when there is excess of aldosterone, excess H+ ion is secreted, and it leads to alkalosis. Alkalosis will be there, hypernatremia will be there, then hypokalemia will be there. So these are the features that occurs when the mineralocorticoids are excess, when aldosterone is excess. So aldosterone stimulates sodium reabsorption in renal tubules, in kidneys, also in the salivary glands, in the sweat glands, in the GIT. So all these areas, the sodium absorption is increased. When sodium is absorbed, water will also be absorbed, and ultimately sodium water increase leads to increase in the blood volume. So increase in the blood volume, and also this will lead to increase in the blood pressure. So there will be hypertension when the mineralocorticoid are excess. There is other feature when there is excess mineralocorticoid.